What's up, everybody? It's your favorite queen, Queen Phierce, and I just wanted to take this space and time to welcome you to another dope episode of Queen Phierce Has Spoken. We're going to get into our conversation in just a minute, but I want to encourage you because you know it's about to go down. You already know. So just go on ahead, comment. Okay, well, comment as the spirit moves you. I'll be in the comments throughout the live presentation of this recording, or if you decide to watch it later on, comment anyway, because I always come back for my comments, child. If you're breezing through, leave us a like, because we like that. Okay, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can get updates and alerts about when we have our dope conversations. Right now, we are every Wednesday at 8 p.m. and you can watch them throughout the week. And check out our conversations before. Last week, we had fabulous Queen Tony Real talking about her healing journey and how she's helping others on their healing journey. So it's just all a thing, child. We have such a diverse network of queens. So I'm excited to have Rorie Still on tonight, who is an author and a creative and just an all-around dope person. So we're about to get into this conversation. Hit like, subscribe, comment, pour your glass of wine, and let's get busy.
Hello, everybody. What's up? It's your favorite queen, Queen Phierce, right here on Queen Phierce Has Spoken. Like, duh, who else would it be? But hey, y'all, hey, I'm so excited to be here with you today. And as promised, I have another dope conversation lined up for us with the Rorie Still. So I'm so excited to have her because Rorie is probably one of my most creative friends. She's a creative friend. She's the writer. Her mind is just like pew, 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 all the time. And most recently, I had the opportunity to participate in a cosplay photo shoot, which was my first time. And so I'm just ready to dive into this conversation. As you can see, I cannot stop smiling hard enough because the Rorie Still is with us, everyone. Hey, Rorie, hey.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Yes.
I'm doing all right with myself. How are you?
I'm good. I am good. Yes.
Well, it is good to see you, good to be seen, and I'm enjoying the new look. I like the short bombs and the little color look you got happening there.
Thank you. I'm probably about to got my Medusa, not Medusa. Who am I thinking of? Elvira, not Elvira. Actually, it might be Elvira. Somebody has a streak. Maybe it's Lily Monster. You know.
It's coming in. Mine's is just like infiltrating the front, and I'm just like, will you just come already? Because I rather my hair just be all gray or all white, whatever it's going to be. Like, just let it be there. So yeah, I'm excited to have you today. We're going to talk a little bit about your journey and most importantly, like what you are doing and getting into as a creative, as a Black creative. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. And actually, I ran up and I grabbed your book.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The Flashbang. Okay, it's called Flashbang Sci-Fi Stories That Will Blow Your Mind, and that it does. So I grabbed this, but I happened to flip to the back just happened to open up, and I was like, I don't know if I ever read Rorie's bio before. Because Peep Game, we both got our masters from Lincoln. Did you know that?
Yes. No, I didn't. That is awesome. HBCU. Grad HBCUs for the win. Yes.
For the win. So both in elementary education. And so mine was I was in the first cohort of special education. So
Nice.
my degree is dual early childhood and special education. So that's so exciting. I was just reading that, like, I didn't know Rorie was a teacher. What?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, still definitely count myself as an educator, learning specialist. Yeah, no, I was somebody's first grade teacher, which still blows my mind. Uh, yeah, like, but you know what? Yeah, it makes sense too. Like I was either 28 or 29, and like because it was either, or I'm thinking it was either '08 or '09. And I stepped in because someone was sick and unfortunately passed that same year. And then,
Wow.
yeah, I was just kind of working. At first, it was like holding space, for this person. And then, yeah, no, it was, became all mine. And it was a very, very interesting year. I keep trying to figure out how old the kids are, but I think they're at least in their teens now.
Yeah, I'm certain if you're thinking like 10 to 15 years ago, which is around the time that I actually got into education, but I didn't graduate from Lincoln until 2015, I think, somewhere around there. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So I love that even though I have new people come onto the show, you're not new to me, but I can still learn new things. That's so exciting to me. Because when I think of Rorie, I think of writer, I think of artist, I think of creative, I think of mastermind. I think of badass. You can remember that reference. I think of all these things. So it's amazing to still be able to learn something about somebody that I know. And so speaking of somebody that I know, I just like to give a little background about how we met each other. We met through a mutual friend. And I think it was you coming to 4P for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we just were able to connect through that. And for people who don't know, 4P is People, Poetry, Potluck, and Prose. It's a private, like intimate space where ladies, mostly women of color, mostly queer women, gather for poetry, for song, for to mostly talk stuff, bring bottles, and or eat. Eating optional because people rarely bring food, but I do what I can do. And so this is where the space that I met Rorie in, and always so happy to have her in my space. And so most recently, we've been able to connect because she's moved across the country. You would think, oh, it would be harder to connect with someone all the way across the country. But no, Rorie has diligently started these artist interviews, which she conducts throughout the weekends. We're in constant contact, I feel like, on social media. And most recently, I was involved in this project. So I feel like we have a lot to just dive in and talk about. Let's start with the transition from being an educator to like a full-time writer or artist.
Well, what happened was I originally wrote the first book of Flashbang, the first edition. This is the second edition.
Oh.
Yes. This one has pictures. And I was just like kind of interestingly enough, it was like a little bit like standing on a ledge somewhat. I actually was teaching fifth grade that year, and I did not feel prepared to teach that particular age group. That can be sassy, but I think I did an okay. I did an in-between job, but I guess, I don't know, it's weird. I feel like I could have done a better job that year, but at the same time, I realized that, there was bonding still happening, even though like, it was just like, it was dealing with teens, like, younger teens, but still teens. And I don't know. I realized in different ways I made a difference, even though I had to step out of that, due to just on the job abuse that finally I got a little tired of. You know what I'm saying? But then like that kind of gave me a break, and during that break, I kind of so over the last decade at least, I've definitely been doing things in the arts specter, you know, because that's always been, I realized, my first passion, love, and purpose. But like working with kids is definitely in there, and I've been doing that since I was like 11, you know, since I could have gone to the camp, but was like helping, being a junior counselor and like watching some 5-year-olds who, one of them has like, trying to remember, I think it's one that has like kids, like the kids I was older than now have kids, or like 21. It's fascinating. Um, and then so what happened with that gap is that I kind of pushed a bit more into doing the different things. Wait a minute, let me think. I had, trying to remember, had I started it then or when I was in the other school. No, I had started Flashbang before then. And that's how like I kind of got in the book, because I won a radio contest with what was then a podcast on G-Town Radio, the Black Tribbles. And then during that gap, essentially, I think I got a little bit more into the art. It's funny, like I think, yeah, I started doing that more, and then I published the book and I kept doing more around the book. And then just kept pouring more into my artist container, I think. And then I was like, okay, I've written the book. Now I want to do posters. I want to see what these characters would look like on the page. Okay, cool. I've done that. Now I want a soundtrack. Okay, let me work with all these really dope different artists. Okay, I'm doing this. And then I also started to push more into my screenwriting. I got into being a learning specialist somewhere along from that gap, and then getting into some other things. I think I went back to guest teaching, or what's known as substitute teaching, all the while still finding ways to be involved in art and to keep growing the universe of the Flashbang universe. And eventually that meant like, you know, gathering cosplayers. We, you know, ended up doing like a safe Halloween in conjunction, you know, at that time with the police in New Jersey. And that was like when it was when Isaiah, you know, kind of stepped out, but I think we had done something with that before, maybe. And then when somebody was, you know, cosplaying as Teddy Ninja, I decided I wanted to be somebody, because I'm just want to be on the side of my own thing. I realized I also have like, I definitely enjoy acting as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I realized who was speaking after talking with one of my friends / artists who's participated in this Trey Digger. And I realized like, oh wait, that's like Flashbang, you know. And then we kind of, I think that conversation blended with Teddy being the soldier who would move through different, or emissary who would move through different stories, which attaches to what I'm currently doing now. But yeah, during that gap, I realized I had already started it or really been participating in the arts. And I kept pouring more into that and like expanding the Flashbang universe, as well as participating in another universe, or starting another one with my co-author, Naila Madison. And we ended up co-writing the book based off her idea. I stepped in as a co-writer after being introduced by a mutual friend, James. And we ended up writing Hidden Melody, which is about love and war and rebellion in a near dystopian future in which live music is banned. So yeah, that's how the pouring happened. It had started already, and I kind of was really participating, and then it grew more. You know, interestingly enough, I had to make a decision whether to do a teacher thing one night or to go ahead and like introduce my book in a certain way. And I introduced my book, you know. So I realized, you know, you kind of make some interesting choices that sometimes lead to different things down the road, but it might not necessarily mean giving up something completely in the future as well. So yeah.
Definitely. So a lot was said right there, but what I gather is that definitely was a journey, and definitely came down to ultimately following your passion, following what you need. What I would like to know is, where did the idea for Flashbang come from? Is it just something that always rested in your mind?
Well, let's see. The book itself, or the goddess?
Well, that's what something tells me the book came from the goddess.
Well, the book itself, okay. So I wrote that first story, which was Taking Wing, which is the one dealing with that angel, and an interesting story. And that definitely, I would definitely say there's some biblical implications if you read into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote that story. I got to read that on G Town Radio. Met Jason Richardson, who runs J1Con, and he was like, "Hey, look, if you put more stories on a CD, you could end up selling in my con." I'm like, "Dope, I'm gonna do that." And then I realized, yo, I got a book, So that's where that came from. And Teddy Ninja particularly came from. I thought a bear with a knife or a bear with a sword. That is hilarious. Let me write this. And then I had taught my kids how to, or my students at the time, how to write haikus. And that totally confused me. Like, I was an ahead reader, but I didn't understand what the heck a syllable was. You learn so much from teaching. So I was like, yo, I got this. I taught my babies how to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a story as interlinking haikus. So let's get it. So I ended up writing that. And then some of the, how it ended up coming together, like I sent one story out, it didn't get into a particular anthology, so I got to keep it. And then I just kind of kept writing more and more. I realized, like, in writing about the people with the wings, that was interlinked. And later on, like I said, with that conversation, I realized that it could all fit in one universe because, time travel. And I was blessed. And you look at different influences. I definitely was, although, there are sometimes particular discussions around it, I was blessed enough to grow up under watching the NCU come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? Watching it go from comic books to cartoons to all this merchandise to, whoa, now we're Wakanda forever. Him grabbing that hammer with the shield. Avengers assemble. Yes, I want to assemble too. I can put together some Legos. Ace bandages. I'll be back here. I don't have any powers. I can fly in my dreams, but yeah. But yeah, so that's essentially how the book came together. And like I said, I realized I wanted to cosplay along with the folk I was hiring. So I said, well, okay, somebody has to be saying this and this. Oh, okay, maybe it's the goddess of this universe, So yeah, and I realized how she developed, and it's some interesting things I'm realizing in the development of the book that's now helping me to realize the development of the animation I'm working on currently,
Yeah,
and particularly the proof of concept, which will be done in a little bit. So it's just an exciting time. It's a very exciting time. I realized, like, the book itself in a way is like Flashbang's holy book, if you will.
yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I gotta now write there's gonna be some alkalites or something. Because there's an interesting tie-in with Flashbang and the vampire portion that I'm also now developing through the photo shoot that you were a part of. So it's interesting. What's in the book? There's a famous father of Afro-Futurism, Samuel Delaney, has a book where you read it and you're going on this character's adventures and he's carrying this notebook. And then you read the notebook eventually and you realize it's the book you've been following the whole time. So I kind of see a possible similarity with the Flashbang and like the book. I now have been slowly writing enough mini stories, and that's the other way this started too. Writing mini stories to kind of put in there to continue to develop on the bus. And I remember listening to Clubhouse with these creators, right?
Yeah.
The new Hollywood. And part of what they said, go back to your proving ground or your proving place and write how you were writing. I realized mine was the bus, but since I'm not on the bus right now, I am in writing mini stories. You see, I think that can be a place as well. So I realized I wrote some mini stories, which, as Tina said on Bob's Burgers, has been some at times real friends fiction or real people fan fiction, but written in the way I wanted to write it. So I'm just sub out some names. But yo, like how I ended up doing the second book, I was envisioning a particular person playing the serial killer, so or retired serial killer. So that is, how I've written a couple other things. And it's a couple other things. There's definitely some, I think I leaned a little bit more into body horror for this version, but it fits kind of because of what I'm also going to eventually publish, underneath the Dracula More Than Blood one. So
yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot of projects on the table, or at least one project just kind of leads into another and leads into another.
Yeah.
So one question that comes to mind is, what is it like being a Black woman in this space? So when we think about sci-fi, like, we don't automatically think about Black people. When we think about sci-fi, we don't automatically think about women unless it's some kind of damsel in distress situation. So I guess my first question would be like, how did you how did you kind of, I don't want to say infiltrate, but make your mark in the Black futurism world? And also, what or who do you consider inspirations?
So many people. And you know what? That's the funny thing. I guess when I have, how you have those moments where you realize like just how much God has blessed you. So I've always been into science fiction from a young tyke onward. I remember the moment, it's either 12 or 15, when I ran into a book by Octavia Butler, like seeing folk who look like me on the thing. And I know that also was something she, if I hope I'm quoting this history correctly, had to fight for, because the 70s they put like white folk on. So I'm seeing, like, I've always been to science fiction and desperately looking for myself in the corners. And then I saw her book. And then I think it actually might have been in the Borders, you know what I'm saying? And then like the covers at that time looked like stained glass. And I'm seeing this young Black woman, bald head, looking gorgeous, beautiful lips. And like, I'm just like, whoa. So I just dove in and just devoured it. That has very much been my inspiration. And when I went to college, I ended up picking up this book by Tananarive Due. And I ended up, during the early days of Twitter, ended up contacting to, hey, will you follow me back? And she did. And I just kept following her, read all the books in the African Immortal series, lost my mind when a new one came out, read all her stuff. And like, and she ended up becoming my mentor, I guess so. And then I also was in the space of reading L.A. Banks, may she rest in power, when she wrote Damali Vampire Huntress series. So I have been blessed enough to, although there's sometimes a purposeful thing to like not let folk have, I've been able to stand on the shoulders of giants and to look up at them. That's Tananarive Due, that's L.A. Banks, that's, that's the mother of Afro-Futurism, Octavia Butler. I got to take Tananarive and Stephen Due's class, who wrote on the, I don't want to misquote his stuff. I'm thinking The Outer Limits. Yeah, wrote on a major science fiction show. You know what I'm saying? And like has taught the class, was such an inspirational teacher. And like, I thankfully, the more I learned about different people, there's Jewel, who wrote this amazing series about a Black female vampire. The more when it's a network. When you end up meeting one, you end up like diving deeper and deeper, because you're searching for yourself. So I guess when I'm thinking of this, when I'm thinking of science fiction, I'm thinking of everybody I know, especially when I've gone to these different cons that have been Afro-focused. That's ECBOC, East Coast Black Age of Comic Books Convention, the first one. That's MechaCon. That's, J1 Con, led by a Black dude, so it's, that has a lot that, was maybe not as Black focused, but like had a presence, so it's I've been blessed enough to play in a space, and also to come from what I view as definitely a Black Mecca, Philly. You know what I'm saying? So we're all and meeting these different comic book folk who help me set up my stuff, know how to price stuff, you know, like let's Sean Aline. End up meeting people who started Women in Comics, that's Regina, you know, just meeting people who were interested in this, writing something with somebody that's not Naila, you know, Madison. So I've been blessed enough to be able to, and I'm like, whoa, did we really make our mark? Well, I was like, well, I guess we did. I've been blessed. I've been able to make my mark because there were people already there. And I guess, you know, seeing us, I've been able to go into Target and see so many little chocolate books on a mainstream thing. And I know that's so important for my inner child. And then for my nieces, nephews, and nibblings. I've been able to make my mark because others already did. I've been able to step in their footprints, you know, and like, thankfully, some of these folk are still alive to be able to ask questions. Like whenever I have like a Hollywood or like, you know, business type of question, a lot of times I can get an answer from, you know, Stephen. Tanana Redo was kind enough to give me a recommendation, you know, and then like there's these different salons that they host where I'm getting to meet all these different folk, and some of them non-Black, like PJ Manny, who wrote on Xena the Warrior Princess. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's and then like it's just I've been able to make my mark because others have held out their hands. I've been able to make their mark because folks already laid down footprints. And I realized like it's just my passion and purpose to be that. I guess it's I've definitely had people be there and be help, and you know I really wanted to do it, I guess, you know. And I've always liked, I said to myself, you know, I'm doing this because it's fun too. That's also been what's definitely been. God, can we don't want to forget his her
can't forget about that.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely been how to do this. God's allowed me to try to give or promote equity through something I very much enjoyed. And I guess she likes it too. Hey. But
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. And I love that you had those, I guess I would say role models or mentors to even be able to look up to. Is like you said, like you are because they are. They made that path. You know, they created those footprints and you were able to follow into it. So it's always, it's just awesome to be able to look to those kinds of inspirations. But I was curious about that because when I do look at, I guess, sci-fi as a whole, it doesn't seem very, I mean, as of late, you have like your Jordan Peele's, you have like people paying more attention and integrating like Black dilemma into sci-fi experiences. But this whole idea of Black futurism, I've just always been so fascinated about, and mostly because of you, because of your participation in it, because of your leadership in it, for your ideas and the way that you're just constantly creating. It just seems like it never turns off. When we were listening to you talk earlier about your project or how you started even writing Flashbang, it just seemed like one project rolled into the next, rolled into the next, rolled into the next. And that really speaks to creativity. And if you tap in, it's like you have to decide to tap into that way. And I feel like I'm experiencing some of that right now, just with the way ideas are coming to me, and then I just like write them down, and then later like expansion packs get downloaded, you know, and I'm writing all that down, and ultimately everything can be tied together. So that's a perspective that I have about your work. And speaking of your work, I know you're out in LA. You went to LA to pursue your, pursue your career and pursue your dreams. So tell me more about what that experience has been like. I know you're getting into screenwriting. Like, are we about to see you on a screen near us? Like, how is that? How is that going?
Well, okay. So in short, yes, I did come out here to try to be in the Hillman Grad Mentorship Program. Didn't get that, but I did get Women of Color Unite. I am currently in their mentorship program with a really dope mentor who whose company was involved in the Venom and Carnage that just came out. And that blows my mind. She's really cool and like reminds, she gets that I'm a creator. She's not saying like stick to one thing, which is some of what you hear, but it's kind of like, if you are going to be a multi hyphenate, just sharpen your sticks, keep sharpening your sticks, rotate the sharpening. But yeah, I came out here to definitely pursue that, and I got into that. Out here has been interesting. It's definitely been an adjustment culturally. I seek me out a little bit more because it's a little bit more racist out here. I'll be blunt, or not as that little bit of anti-blackness out here. And I have also found, another home, and more family, which has definitely been a blessing. This has definitely been a whirlwind of 2+ years, especially with COVID. Yeah. I know I'm a different person than who came out here, and maybe that's okay. I definitely think I'm a touche more confident or more understanding than I can. If I figured like the thing about New York, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. And I'm figuring we can do this through a pandemic, and keep a sense of self, and keep creating, then we can definitely make this mojo work. With screenwriting, I've been doing that for a while, although it's more on my authorship. I'm shifting it over, although I might have to I got to figure out what we're going to do as far as publishing the novella first, or kind of work that out. But yeah, I think I figured out a plan with that, but I'm definitely doing the screenwriting. I've definitely made that my focus more on here because I knew I wanted to or needed to write the pilot for Teddy Ninja, which is going to be the animation that is the window into the Flashbang universe. And like he ends up Flashbang, we actually get to meet her in this. I am currently in the stage of pitching this to different people. Like I said, the proof of concept or the trailer or the short film, depending on how you're marketing that, right, is going to be done in a little bit. We're just excellent. Yeah. We're getting there on, almost. And it's definitely been an interesting journey learning how to run an animation team. It has been an interesting journey just writing these different scripts. And I would just advise anybody doing that, have different samples. I have an animated feature. It's a little live action, or it was, and it's my Ozian one, or Wizard of Oz. Been obsessed with since I saw it, Wizard of Oz, the whole story. Love it whenever it shows up in whatever form.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing my own version, my own Afro-Futuristic. I love myself some martial arts and some musicals. So that usually is going to show up a lot in a lot of my different, maybe not all of it, because like with Hidden Melody, that might take a different turn. That might be definitely, more live action. But yeah, no, I'm at the process where I'm talking pitching with some different folks. So I also knew that it was time to try to get some representation. So that is kind of what I'm doing now too, because we got the feature, we have the Teddy Ninja pilot. Right now, I have to double check within the industry, but pilots are definitely smoking hot, at least about a year ago. But it's also good to have what's called a spec script. And I have 2 of those, but I want to clean them up a little bit. I have one for Insecure, so sad it's going off. But I'm excited for Miss Ray or Issa Rae for all that she's doing, including having a representation company, Color Creative, that to represent me. That's definitely on the docket. That focuses on, thank you, prayerfully, that focuses on multi-hyphenates. But that's really what I'm doing now. I have those two. I have and I have a dystopian. It's kind of sounds similar, but it's different. It deals more with the concept of passing, but from a species point of view, and it's called Whistle. So it's my little dystopian short. In some ways, low key, part of me is thinking of, it's funny. I have one scene in there. One thing I learned in Sonata Reeve and Stevens' class was like, before you write dialogue, write the scene as a silent film. Make sure you're getting your message across. And then, so that's kind of given me a love a little bit for doing that for certain scenes, especially having no.
That's like a really good tip. I never heard that before.
Having no words in it. And I like that for action sequences. And I definitely like that, even though I figure like, what I've noticed, and it's in the MCU as well, if you're going to talk during this, it's got to be, this is just me noticing this. And maybe, hey, I'm learning to trust in my expertise here. I've noticed that it has to be this. It has to be like poppy language or intense in some way. Like right before they jump off with Captain America, when he catches that, Thor's hammer, I'm like, as Avengers Assemble, they're going to yell stuff during a battle, but that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? That's frankly, realistically, that's going to be kind of loud. You better yell something. So I'm learning like it has to be intense. So I learn action sequences, the emotions are just intense. So I kind of learned that. But like I said, I like for certain moments where I really want the emotions to speak, to write a silent scene. I enjoy that because then it's sometimes so much is said through like however we're taking in information, whether that's touch, whether that's seeing something, whether that's hearing something, tasting something, smelling something, and then if you're a shark, electrical senses, so. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm doing.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm happy to hear about your time in LA and how successful it is. And like you said, you're a different person now than when you first went out there. And on the past couple of weeks on this platform, we have been talking about transformation and how things, life events, just change you, healing experiences just change you, and how it's just an ever-present work. So it's like, I'm still Rorie, I'm still who I've always been, but I'm the next best version of me. Like I'm the version that's on the other side of whatever, the initial obstacle is. So I'm all about hearing black women winning. So and I've admired that since you went to LA, and I was like, Rorie just really picked up and just like follow her dreams all the way across the country.
Thank you. You know what? I do want to give a shout out to Lena Waithe, because I was talking to her around that time and like, just a bit. And she mentioned it's so that definitely the shiny queen of possibility, definitely it was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go do this, but yeah, but thank you. I appreciate that. It's interesting. It's kind of like, and I guess this is why I admire the Wizard of Oz tale so much. Dorothy was constantly looking for home, or like, I guess a sense of safety, and it's ironic because at first she wanted to go over the rainbow. She was like, this is boring. I'm not with this. But mine's a grown behind Dorothy with some bills like, ooh, the recession, no. I don't want to be here in this place. Her looking for home was to get up out of this dead end. And she was dealing with grief from a relative dying,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah, no, it's definitely, I realized in my travels or trying to go over the rainbow, I definitely was trying to look for something, better or brighter, like you said, the next level. So, yeah.
I love that, Rory. So let's just jump into a little bit into my involvement in this
You did
in
so
this
good.
project.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was so honored, first of all, to be asked. And I know it took us a little while to get it off the ground, just
That's
with
okay.
scheduling and COVID and just everything, my injuries. I think my back was out one week. It was so much happening, but we finally were able to get it out. Shout out to Queen Ish Taylor Made. She was an amazing hostess, and especially for my first time participating in a cosplay shoot, and I had to paint my whole body.
You did a really good job. Yeah, you guys looked amazing. Yeah.
Thanks. And so I had a good coach, and you being able to direct from all the way across the country, I could definitely say this was a first time experience for me. Hopefully not a last time experience, but also hoping I don't have to dot 5 layers of paint all over my body.
Look, the whole, manifesting in the way we're moving, it'll be somebody else dotting it who understands Black.
Yes, I was manifesting that too. I was like, oh, we gonna hire somebody, Lord. Because that was also a new experience.
I actually have, if we ever end up, when we end up doing something out here, well, I do have somebody out here if she's available at that time. So there is an SFX or special effects makeup person who's you guys did a really good job, and she's gonna help continue that pathway. So you got to see what she did for the mermaid vampire guy Weston.
Oh well, I mean, it sounds so exciting. So I'm interested. I know I posted a couple pictures, but I'm interested to see like where this project goes and how the pictures will be used. I know you have some exciting things lined up. So let's just talk a little bit about this particular project, because here we are, another project on the table, whole photo shoot from across the country.
Yeah, we did that, right?
We did that. So tell us about Flower. Hey, y'all. Tell us a little bit about Flower, the project, and what we can expect out of that.
Okay, so the novella actually takes place in the Flashbang universe. I say this is a bit of our horror one of the Black speculative fiction, because we are dealing with vampires and we will be seeing a bit of blood, which is really kind of ironic. Part of me is like, oh, but I'm gonna figure that out. But it deals with Dracula's female descendant, who finds out about her vampiric lineage from Dracula, the vampire allfather, and also who's a brother from another planet. And to be able to train to take the throne, she ends up linking up with what I call her reject allies, because they don't always fit in with their groups, later her lovers, to do this while, trying to work through a world that is rejecting her because of her human heritage. And first mega villain is fighting off a serial killer. So these different, the best way to defeat an evil empire is to build your network. So Flower represents the unicorns of that universe, who are very Mau Mau representing fighting the man, and just, we're dealing with going from the power to be to pursuing the power to rule, but to do it correctly. Watching Lucifer really helped me kind of click in what the ending might need to look like. So Flower is one of her, lovers. And like, at first, when I was originally writing the book before Flashbang, I actually always joked that I was like cheating on this book with the other book. Now I have a nice little poly relationship with them both. And so does Eve. She has many loves. At first, I was going to have like her discover her coming out point. But as I got to know myself better as a queer woman, I realized like I could just make her pan at first. And then like she ends up getting all these dude lovers, although that may shift a little bit too, especially learning more about myself and like just our community. Flower was gonna be her wife. Her wife, yes. And then like Flower was, I always described her as a mix of like Harley Quinn, but a little wilder. And then for the one pager, I also put like Flower might end up being Eve's dom. So we got some, this is going to be an adult show, y'all. This is going to be an adult show. And like, I don't know if that, I want there to be some exploration there. So maybe that's what Eve is starting to learn more about herself with, instead of just her orientation or even her gender. I have her being cis right now, but since I'm a non-binary woman, I might also do that for Eve. I'm playing with that. We'll see. Honestly, even how Eve looks might change, based on what there needs to be more of in a certain medium. But I don't know. I'm playing with that because, to be honest, I still want to play Eve. So I don't know. I got encouraged by the young man who ended up being Weston for the photo shoot. Like, no, you should totally do it. I was like, I don't know. She's gonna be 27. But you know what? Bet I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be her for the photo shoot because
you created her. Yeah.
Yes. And
it's already in you.
Yes. But I'm like, yo, that's like me 12 years ago, right? But I realized maybe there can be, shout out to Amalgam in Philly, an amalgamation, Amalgam Comic Books and Coffee House, first one owned by a Black sister on the East Coast who is amazing. And the store is amazing. Y'all gotta go. Commercial over. But yeah, like that's what I'm working with. And then like you played Flower and looked so amazing. We might even change her name a little bit, but the cool part about it, I might not at the same time, because flowers play such a large part in meaning in this universe. They mean one thing for the Vance, but they mean something totally different for the unicorns a little bit.
Wow.
So we might play with that, because there's a little, I don't know if I want to give it away, but it's funny.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
But it's kind of funny though. Like, you know how like I was blessed enough to grow up with like the Care Bears and Captain Planet and like My Little Pony. So I made the unicorns, what's the word? Poisonous. You know what I'm saying? Or venomous. I'm playing with this. One means if I bite you, you die. The other one, you bite me, you die. And I think I want it to be poisonous more so than venomous. I don't know.
Yeah.
I might play with that back and forth, but I was saying to myself, my poison pony, won't you let the sickness in? So I realized like it's kind of like what I learned on Lovecraft Country. It was this one scene where it was I am, and it was about the Black woman Hippolyta finding herself, and one of the scenes was about righteous anger. Like, yo, if someone's hurting you or hurting your people, yeah, you're probably going to hate them, or at least be angry. And hate doesn't have to be a permanent emotion. But yeah, someone trying to kill you or injure your people, you might hate them a little bit. Hey, it is what it is. But like I said, it doesn't have to be permanent. And there is something as righteous anger. And to quote Malcolm X, whatever means necessary. And you see that in the unicorns, like they're not out trying to like purposely stab people with that horn, but they are very much for their people being able to live in freedom and other people's too. So that's going to be interesting. I'm definitely setting up something that will look like an aristocracy, and a republic at the same time, but it's interesting if it stays that way, because it's cool. We got the little gowns and people are going to be cute and stuff. And there's the element of hip hop, which is with the Vance, right? And the unicorns have other stuff. I forgot what musical genre I kind of had put in with them, but it's, but you don't mess with them, because you will end up feeling some pain if you do. And I feel very much we have a right as Black folk, as a diaspora, to defend ourselves and make it wider as POC to make sure that we are okay. And as I said, I was discussing something with somebody, because some people on the quote unquote other side said, oh, I'm tired of this here. Privilege speak, privilege speak, privilege speak. right?
Right.
So I'm like, are you allowing people clock this or listen, not clock this? Are you allowing people to have the most human experience? And what you're saying is that the most human experience. You're tired of this person talking about being able to control their bodies and birthing. Is that the most human experience? Is what you're saying giving that? Let's say freedom of speech, but you're attacking a community repeatedly for a long time, you know, in your comedy special. Are you letting those folk, and you claim to love all Black people, right? Or you're fighting, are you letting people have the most human experience? Or the better yet, quote Jane Elliott, if you don't want it for you, why do you want it for somebody else? So that's what these unicorns are definitely about. You know, they're
I
like,
love this correlation to really tap into an audience that may not readily identify with the struggle, but by portraying it in this manner, it brings it to a different kind of light. It really almost makes it like layman's terms, right? Like, are you having the most unicorn experience? are you
yes.
are you delivering the most unicorn experience you can deliver?
Yeah, exactly right. Did you flash your horn today? Meaning, did you stand up for somebody, or did you at least think about somebody else? You know, we just had Indigenous Peoples Day, and I guess it's funny. This story is very much about identity too, because Eve is like I said, she's a grown, you know, she's a grown woman, and she's like, okay, but I think until I started therapy in my 30s or my late 20s, I forgot when it began, but it's definitely given me some tools for healing. Eve is a woman who has had some stuff, who's had a pretty good growing up, but like I said, existing in this stuff with families, she has, because bullying very much is a form of torture. You know, I'm just going to be blunt. And I'm glad that we are working ways to dismantle it. You know, I know we're saying anti-bullying, and there's a way to something that's even better than that, but she had to deal with that. And like, she was essentially a form of a seer, an empath, or the bargaining powers that came with that particular lineage, right? But because it hurt so much when folks would say bad words, it would show up as bruises on her skin. So she's like, you know what, forget this. I'm gonna just try not to see, hear, you know, or perceive. But that doesn't work like that. Your gifts will make room for you, and your gifts will show up in other ways. You know what I'm saying? So as this adult, she's getting like random flashes of stuff or random stuff, and it's she's learned how to cope with it, but it's not ideal. So when Drac shows up, and frankly, there's some other stuff that influences that choice, but she's like, part of it really is, she's like, look, I want to find out more about me and learn how to fix this. So she makes a choice to go ahead and pursue or become a vampire, you know? So I forgot what question you asked me, but this is kind of what kind of like goes into it. And then, yeah, identity, like who are you, or who are you becoming? You know, yeah, be about that horn, be about, you know, helping somebody else out. Oh, wait, Indigenous peoples identifying differently. I was talking to my dad a lot during quarantine, and I realized that my paternal grandfather identified as Indigenous. Most folk would probably look at him and not think that, but I realized like one thing I'm definitely learning about the culture is like one saying your percentage of this is something referenced as blood quantum, and that's more of a colonizer's thing. So if you are, you are, you know. So I also am identifying as Afro-Indigenous, you know what I'm saying? And I realize like I keep talking about this, but I'm gonna do a little bit more digging into that, because I would like to know particularly about that. And then that flips into, you know, knowing whose land you're on too. So so it's interesting. And then with Black folk, we already have something called double consciousness, you know, where you're aware of yourself as a human, but then aware of the prejudice outside that's going on. And you try not to think about it all the time. And I could see how that's going to end up writing an interesting part, either as a novella and or the television show with Eve. And then I'm thinking like, in identifying that way, or like really accepting it as mine, it's almost like a triple consciousness. And it doesn't I decided that even though you might experience something bad, and yeah, no, hate is going to be in there, it doesn't have to be permanent. They don't get to steal your joy for the rest of the people who are acting like idiots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's I also am choosing joy or just seeing different things. I'm realizing like, oh wait, that's my people too. But also lets me be mad at like certain acts by the white man, like, oh, you thought the black rage was something. Wait till you see my indigenous rage too. Holler, holler, and I'm gonna be something for you also once I find my tribe and my nation, at least genetically. Because I also talked to this one gentleman who was indigenous who said it's who you were with last, right? So
Right.
I don't know. I wonder for people who are also Afro, can that be a little bit different because you might not be able to readily trace who it was right away. You know what I'm saying?
That is so interesting. I have been thinking about this very same thing actually recently, with the understanding that my grandfather's parents are indigenous,
Mm-hmm.
and we know nothing about their history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have like my mother's grandmother's name, which is her father's mother. And that is really like all we know about them. So just for the sake of like knowing who I am, like my complete and whole self, it's worth me doing that research.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of Afro Indigenous is definitely
Yeah.
something that I can identify with. And thank you for sharing that with me and with us. In this story, that really comes down to identity and just everything you said about um, Black people and our double consciousness. Um, really, always interesting stuff, Rorie. Always.
Thank you. And in part of that double consciousness, I decided kind of what I learned from Hippolyta, which was telling about how she became a goddess. And they also put Garnet in that from the Crystal Gems. Joy. Like there was some phone thing that I didn't participate in. I was like, but Black joy, indigenous joy, joy in who we are. Wakanda Forever has such. My book is on the floor. I would grab it. By Dr. Sheena Howard. Why Wakanda Still Matters.
Yeah.
It's funny. Some people definitely think of time as a circular concept, and I think it's definitely an Afro focus in that way. Wakanda is both who we would have been uninterrupted and who we are now taking it back. And that kind of points to the one of the drink symbols, saying Kofa, go back and fetch it. And that bird's neck is circular too. You know what I'm saying? So we are going back and fetching who we are as we expand. Like you said, as I see, I guess, myself, and I guess it really blows my mind that I'm one of those people. But then again, it's really cool. I'm being invited to the salon. So there's always talk in the history of books about the different parties people were going to, like, let me see, give me a second. W.E.B. Du Bois, I'm sure he attended the party too. But I'm thinking of the Harlem Renaissance with Langston Hughes, Ornell Hurston, you know what I'm saying? And how they like talked and how it was very queer and Black. So
I'm so happy that you mentioned salon because I want to host one like so badly.
I think we definitely can.
We covered a hell of a lot, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
I'm
I'm
glad.
always excited. Yeah, always excited to have you on. Always excited for the opportunity to connect with you. So, if people want to connect with you, if they want to find your work, how are we doing that? How are we reaching out to Rorie?
So my work is I forgot to mention this. I've also opened up a store on Redbubble, and you could see it under the Flashbang Collection, or you could type in my name. You can get some Teddy Ninja socks or some Isaiah socks. The girl with the purple wings. I had one of my mentees. He did a beautiful fashion version of that. And you can see who the artists are too. And one of my other young people, Yato, the artist Yato, did a beautiful rendition of Matthew with the one with the golden wings. Just has a perfectly innocent looking face. So you can literally get a backpack, a tabletop cover. I'm gonna get myself some socks. It's starting to get cold. I got my tennis socks.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. But there's more designs to come with that. I forgot to mention that. I'm very proud of that. I gotta do more with it.
I could tell. Look at you, like glowing a little bit when you started talking about it.
Hold up.
Here we go. Little slow Millie.
I like how you did that. Yeah, I like that. We did that with the hooves. That was dope. Yo, like I know it'll be an old school dance like the Cabbage Patch by the time the TV show comes out. We're doing it. Oh, bring it back. Bring it back. Go, Grandma. Go, Grandma. Hey.
Now, I know the dance is old now. I know when the children were here, they was like, Mom, what are you doing? I was
I don't know. Right, you know what? Anymore. See, that's one of the reasons I like to have my little gray blood stripe. I was thinking that I always talked about going through different experiences and getting blood stripes. That's not good. It's not good if folk have trauma, but it'll come at some point. This is, well, you listen, I'm enjoying being the old, slightly corny. I decided all my stuff gets to come into play. Oh, yes. Nothing about this. Hey.
I said, yes.
Listen, next time they're there, do the butterfly. Oh, yo. So I totally will tell people when to find, but I got to tell a story. So when we were in Girl Scouts, my mom was our troop leader, right? So like we did the butterfly, but because it's, emphasizing certain parts of the bodily anatomy, whatever gender you happen to be, my mom said, put an arm down. Boom. Boom. Yo, okay, I need to tell people this. Listen, if you've gone to Girl Scout camp and you've heard a boom, chicka boom, that was our troop who ended up introducing that. We were the only all-Black troop. Yes. I can't remember my troop number. It was 99 or something. But listen, fam, listen. I said boom, chicka boom. I introduced that one time. Very excited. Oh my God. Yo, selling those cookies was life, man. Yeah. I think that's why I like selling what I do now. It's little things introduce young people to different stuff, and basically hustling those cookies. Yo, I loved it when they released us in the Pathmark. We went over here, we helped somebody too who needed help. But yo, we were like, hey, you want to buy some cookies? We're selling these cookies. Da, 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 da. So you really do learn the art of the sale. It's and I always, even though I have to kind of give them away more so now, I always try to buy a box. So yo, support your local Girl Scout troop. And remember, a boom chicka boom came from the Black Girl Scout troop, the all Black Girl Scout troop. Yeah, and we heard right. But where you can find me. So with this particular book, you can find this up on Amazon, and your girl is working to do a process to possibly get it into bookstores. I'm working on it now. So I definitely will put out an announcement. You'll probably see me on Instagram because, once we kind of work that process. What else? With this one, and actually, yes, it's already in the bookstore. This is in either off of Amazon or Amalgam Comic Books and Coffee House. Go get yours. Same.
Oh, yeah, right in Philly.
Same this one. And also out here, if you're out here with me on the West Coast, there's different comic book stores who has it. There's Comics versus Toys, Mega City One, Golden Apple has some too. I'm trying to remember. There probably is one more. No, wait, they sold out. So during the pandemic, no less. So I was like really proud of that. I'm going to see where else I can put this as well. Oh, and it's also up on, if you look up Toledo Publishing with the comic book flea market, it's up online as well, so you can buy it offline.
Oh, excellent.
And then where you can find me personally, you can find me, you can hit me up on Facebook, but it'd be better if you send a message to my box. It's Rorie Still. I do have an author page on there. Please like and subscribe. I'm on Twitter sometimes. I'm mostly haunting Instagram, and that is at RORSTLL. They made me take my eye out.
Really?
And then Twitter put the eye back in.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So that's really where you can find me. I also want to put this, if you don't mind. The amazing gentleman behind Nerds and Hip Hop will end up con, or at least, yes, one day con, an event. So if you are nerding up or hip hop, please check him out. And if you're interested, or you know me personally and you happen to be out here with us in like Tarzana or within our particular or LA County area, please hit me up with a DM. I'd love to look at your stuff and, you know, see what can happen as far as vending, you know. So yeah.
Excellent, Rorie.
Helping to blossom something else, which will be very powerful. It's going to be very cool because his site is amazing. And thank you. But y'all, I gotta shout out my girl Sasha before we end this. Sasha is amazing. She talks about getting hit with the creative stream, but I have to say that Sasha has always been an amazing creation and host for art. Between the 4P, her talk show she had before, the talk show she has now, her will participate in something new, even during these COVID times, you know, definitely not minding me trying to make health suggestions, and I appreciate that. Thank you for listening. You know, just trying to look out for my girl, because she's real good people, and she's always held a space and a place for people to express themselves, their whole selves, and definitely made sure that she is, as a queer woman within the rainbow community, using privilege to make sure that we are also giving space and place to the trans community who is part of the rainbow community, you know. So I and appreciate that. She's always been an excellent friend, you know, and just pleasant, whether she's going through something or not. She just, you know, I'm glad she was able to give herself rest, which is important as a creator, you know, and just as a person. But I appreciate just her light and her radiance and her being. She's an incredible activist, has been out fighting for all of us, you know.
You're gonna make me cry.
Definitely deserve your flowers, or since I like animal print too, your spots. I like it.
Oh,
I like
yes.
It. Yes. There's no, you can get a tissue pack of animal print tissues, and they say,
yes, I do know that.
Such thing as too much animal print. And yeah, but she's good people, and like she's been just working her best through everything, and I definitely, you know, it's funny. They have this, not meme, but they have this video. How do you know you're living in the golden days, good old days beforehand? I say it's in the moments. And I definitely wanted to give a moment to you. Yeah.
Oh, Rorie, that is so sweet. I'm like listening, and you're like talking about me in the third person. I was like, this person sounds fabulous. Who is this? Oh, it's me.
Yeah. Thank you for also giving that to me, because like you said, I'm one of the people, and I thought, well, I guess I is, you know, and it's quite a revelation. It's scary, you know. Success is scary. Failure is terrifying, but success is a little scary too, because it's then like shifting of identity. Who am I? And
yeah, and it still dips into that element of the unknown. Like no matter how positive or glorious you think it might be, it's still uncharted territory for some. Yeah. So I completely understand it. But you know me, and you know my platform is always about elevating Black women, celebrating Black women, educating us, motivating us, and whatever that takes. So whatever platform I have, that will always be a piece of it. And I appreciate you for being there basically for every step of the way, for your involvement with 4P, for you've been on the Queen Network twice, and now you're here for Queen Phierce Has Spoken. And as long as my voice is able to be heard, there will be a platform like this for Black women, for our art, for our healing space, just creating just necessary space and elements of celebration and joy that we need, and we need each other ultimately. So I'm happy. Thank you so much for sharing it with me, and just thank you for being part of a awesome Queen network, because you're a part of the network. I'm just open, and like you say, I take God as my lead every step of the way, and that's one of the main things that I pray for is guidance. And sometimes it comes through just having a conversation. Thank you so much for that, and for that encouragement. I really appreciate it. I want to publicly thank you so much for joining me tonight on this episode of Queen Phierce Has Spoken. Lots to say, lots to look into, lots to follow up on, but I know that we will always stay connected, and if you need anything, just feel free to reach out.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and thank you for having me on your program.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.